about this team and the way that they're playing right now?
Yeah, we're opportunistic, hitting home runs when we need to tonight, but it's just fun. It's not, they're thinking in the dugout, it's not if we're going to win, but who's going to be the guy that gets it done, and that's a good feeling when everybody in the lineup feels like they can get it done.
What did you like about the execution in that final inning?
A lot of good, not too good at bats, a bunch of good at bats. Jackson started off, then Manny, then Bogey got him over to third, made Gavin have the chance to drive him in, and then instead of just hitting a sac fly, it's a 3-run bomb. So made it a little bit more exciting in the end.
Walker was exponentially better, like in virtually every way. What stood out to you most?
Yeah, I think it was just his ability to hold his pitches and hold his delivery through the entire outing. And his pitch count was so low, maybe that was a contributor to it. But getting the inning after inning after inning, he had the last time he had gone more than 5 innings was way back, like middle of March. So for him to get 6 innings strong, we probably could have went out and got the 7th, but we felt that was a good ending point for him and trusted our bullpen the rest of the way.
How much does bad luck or just a kind of weirdness explain what's happening with Adrian?
Yeah, we're racking our brains about it. He's throwing 100 miles an hour and they're getting a bunch of singles off of him. It's not like he's giving up slug, and he's not like they're hitting the ball hard. The first 2 balls were hit, broken bat, a little squibber down third base line. So, a little bit of bad luck. Probably a little bit of baseball humbling somebody a little bit and let you know it's a tough game. Not that he's arrogant about it or anything, but sometimes baseball just does that to you and makes you dig a little deeper and see how tough you are. And I think Adrian's pretty tough and can handle this.
Before the game, you talked about Jason Adam coming back. He was already for pitching. What can you tell us about what was the situation going through your mind when he got back to the mound here at Petco Park?
Yeah, I think it was a pretty cool moment, him coming in, and we were trying to give him a soft landing. That wasn't quite the softest situation to get put into, but we needed him desperately, and he delivered just like he has ever since he's been a Padre. One of the most trustworthy people in our whole organization. Put in so much work to get back to be there in that moment, and I was glad it went well for him, and it was pretty cool to be able to hand him the ball.
As a player, it's always really fun to have a walk-off experience. What's it been like as a manager going through these last 2 nights?
Yeah, it's maybe more exciting. I don't know. It's about the same. Anytime you win a Major League Baseball game, it's pretty awesome. It's tough to win a Major League Baseball game. It just is. No matter how good your team is, every game like the last 2 nights comes down to 1 or 2 pitches in the game and small margins. So anytime we can get a victory, and then when it's a little bit more dramatic, it makes it even more exciting.
9 ABS calls overturned tonight, the ties the MLB record. How does that play into your guys' mentality when you know that maybe the ump is off on the night? Does it kind of make you guys more willing to kind of go for the challenge?
I think we've seen from the Rockies that they're pretty aggressive. That's definitely their strategy. I think the umpires are getting used to the new strike zone, and so are the players. And we're going to see games like that where you got an umpire that's been behind the plate for a really long time. He's been able to call his own zone, and now he's forced to call a zone that's not his. And that's going to be tough for all of those umpires. And, you got to give them a little bit of grace in that process too. They're being shown up on the scoreboard. It's not a great look for them sometimes, but, we've got to understand that they're going through a new thing also, and so are the players.
What can you tell us about Estrada and how that injury came about?
Yeah, went out to play catch today and, just didn't feel really good, and maybe kind of explain a little bit why his velocity's been down, just, kind of trying to pitch through some things. And today just didn't feel like he was capable of taking the ball if we called upon him. Probably a little tendonitis, arm fatigue, a lot of that stuff, possibly like the dead arm stuff that people talk about in spring training, that kind of creeping up, but just not feeling right. First couple throws warming up just aren't feeling like he feels really good. Once he gets going, it feels a little bit better, but we're also seeing like not peak Jeremiah Estrada also. So I think it's a good time to be overly cautious and give him a little breather and get him on the IL and get him right.
It hadn't just happened this afternoon, that catch. Like, is it too early to say, like, timetable or anything like that?
No, yeah, too early to say. I think we were kind of scrambling there at the end just to, before the game was kind of a last minute transaction. So, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's something that has probably manifested itself over the course of time, and now it finally got to the point where, all right, I don't want to pitch through this anymore.
Mason going 3-3 and being kind of as dominant as he was, I guess maybe not as surprising as Mason Miller, but what can you say about what he's done and what was your kind of plan going into this? If had Morejon completed the angle, were you trying to stay away from Miller for that night to go to Adam, or?
No, Miller was available tonight. Yeah, he was comfortable going 3 in a row. Felt really good about it. Obviously, his stuff looked really good tonight. Accomplished that very well. I think we're learning about Mason also as we go here. I don't know if he's pitched 3 days in a row very often in his career. Probably, I think never actually. That might have been the first time. And so you're always wondering how they're gonna come out of that third day, and then how he's gonna bounce back in the next couple of days. So we'll see how he is in the next couple of days, and then go from there.
Campy looks like a completely different guy right now. What do you see from him, especially at the plate? I mean, we haven't seen him drive the ball the other way a whole lot. That ground over to right center field was a different approach. Or just he's feeling like he's back to being what we saw when he was tearing the cover off the ball to pass him.
Yeah, I think he is proving that what he did last year is not a fluke, and that he can do it at this level. I think one thing that I got to give him a lot of credit for is just his overall attitude and confidence and maturity. He's taken a big stride last year and even a bigger stride this year. Just his ability to connect with his teammates, connect with the coaching staff, and be a guy that has a smile on his face every day. And there's something to be said about that, like positive attitude. So, all that credit goes to Campy, and it's fun to see that come to fruition on the field.